In this tutorial, we're going to look at the Cohort Options screen and why you might choose to enable or disable some of the options there. So I'm going to go to the menu panel on the left side of the screen, and at the very bottom, I'm going to click Cohort Options. And what you'll see is this pop-up window that'll list all of the cohorts that are in your system, and you'll see several options going from left to right here that we can enable or disable. The first one is classes active. So if you uncheck this box and make a class inactive, then they won't appear in any of the assignment lists. If you're trying to make an assignment from the assignment calendar, they won't appear there, and their data will also not be included in any of the aggregate data that we're looking at for charts here and some of the things from the Score Lab. So if I click Cohort Options here, I want to make sure that I have the class of 2025 and 2028. They are enabled here. That means that I can make assignments to them. So if you're going to make an assignment and a class suddenly vanishes, click Cohort Options, make sure that you put a check in there, and then click Save and Close, and then you can go back to the assignment calendar and they will reappear. The next option here is View Exam Key for Prodigy exams. And one that's very similar to it is View Exam Key for faculty-created exams. There's just a slight difference here between the two. But when a student completes an exam that you've assigned to them, they will see their results in their exam results screen that'll show their percent correct overall and in each category. And if they click on the entry for that, and this is enabled, then it will pull up the actual exam key that shows every question, the answer they selected, the correct answer, the citation, and rationale. So if you're assigning a Prodigy exam to an entire class, you probably want to uncheck this until you've at least made sure that all of the students have completed the exam, and then you can enable it if you'd like them to be able to review what they got correct and what they got incorrect for each exam. The same thing is true for faculty-created exams. So this gives you separate control over exams that you created using the exam composer. Likewise, if you created one that you're assigning to an entire cohort, you might want to have that unchecked at least until all of the students have finished the exam. That way they can't look up the answer and pass on the information to another student. The next option here is Allow Exams by Textbook and Chapter. So by default, these next three rows, exams by textbook and chapter, allow the Practice C exam, and allow Prodigy Board Sim exams. All of those exams will appear in a student's practice exam menu. So let's look at an example of the practice exam menu so I can show you what I mean. By default, all 25 board simulation exams will be available in this list, exam based on textbook and chapter, and the C simulation exam. Those three will all be available to the students by default. But let's say I wanted to assign either exams by textbook and chapter to students, and I don't want them to have the same ability to create an identical exam before they take mine. Then I would want to make sure that I uncheck that option and hit Save and Close. So this is most commonly disabled for most schools. If you want to assign the Practice C exam in Prodigy and you don't want students to be able to play around with the exam beforehand and maybe try to memorize questions, then you might want to disable that one as well. And if you want to administer all of the Prodigy Board simulation exams, all 25 of them, to your students on a schedule, and you don't want them mucking around practicing with the questions beforehand, you can uncheck that also. One thing that I do recommend is once students have graduated and now they still have the remainder of their Prodigy subscription to prepare for boards, please go back and check these, because we want them to have access to everything possible once they've graduated, completed all their program requirements, and they're off on their own preparing for boards. So we want to enable all of this. And once they've graduated, I think you probably want to enable View Exam Keys for these as well so that students can see what they missed and why. A little bit more extreme option is to disable all practice exams, and that will disable the entire practice exam menu. So when a student clicks on it, it'll just say, sorry, you do not have access to this. It's been restricted by faculty. There are certain situations where some programs want to control what students have access to during, say, their first year as students. They don't want them going down rabbit holes or getting distracted. So they disable the entire practice exam menu, and they administer exams that they've created through the assignment calendar only. So that's not used very often, but it is available if you want to. Now, this one here that says allow students to clear their performance history. This allows students to have a button visible in My Review that says Reset My Review. So actually, let me log out as a faculty member, and I'm going to log back in as a student so you can see what I'm talking about. So here we have My Review. This is all the data that's in it. And we have Reset My Review. If a student clicks this, it'll ask them, are you sure you want to erase this information? Because it will delete everything in My Review and we can't get it back. Now, there are times when resetting My Review is an important thing to do because you might want to clear out old data. But if you're planning on performing a remediation, maybe it's senior students in their last semester, and you're performing a lot of exams to specifically collect this data so that you can use it for remediation, then you want to go into Cohort Options and make sure that they don't have the ability to delete that data because you want to preserve it for your use. So we'll go back in as a faculty member and we'll click Cohort Options, and I'm going to uncheck that for these classes because right now I don't want them to clear their performance history. Again, this would probably be useful to click once the students have graduated and now they're studying on their own, and they might want to erase all that data so that they can start from a blank slate preparing for board. So I think that it would be appropriate to recheck this after they've graduated. We'll look at some other options for resetting My Review and some of this other data and how you can access it in another video where we drill into a student's detail.